presentation. So Anna, thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure to join this great group every year in summer for discussing some hot issues in bioethics. And as you know, I have been working on ethics and AI, or the implications of AI in ethics. So last year we had a new chapter in AI, like the generative AI, the ChatGPT, and other chatbots. So this development brought a new discussion to all the discussions we had last year. So what I'm going to do in this session is to give you a brief explanation about what we discuss in terms of AI and ethics and the philosophical backgrounds of these discussions. And then I'm going to open the floor for discussion to hear your perspectives about the ethical issues that ChatGPT or other large language models present. So I would like this session to be some kind of a discussion instead of a just a presentation. So please feel free to cut me at any time and ask questions, or if you have something to say, a comment on what I'm talking about, just do so. It's okay. I'm always happy to hear your voices and hear your comments and try to answer your questions. So a brief explanation about my background. I'm a medical doctor in origin, and I had my PhD in history of medicine and ethics. And then I was a Fogarty Fellow at Harvard University. It was a joint program with Boston Children's Hospital and Harvard School of Public Health. So it was in research ethics. And when I came back to Turkey, I joined the Tobete University School of Medicine, and I initiated the Department of Ethics there. So I'm the Deputy Dean and the Head of History of Medicine and Ethics Department, and I'm also the Head of International Bioethics Center at my university. My area of work recently focuses on AI and ethics, and we have been discussing ethical issues in terms of technology and mainly in terms of AI for the last, let me say, 3 to 4 years now. And as I said, with the chatbots, with the large language models, this and a whole new chapter is on, and the discussions has been heated, as if you have followed this. So there's another person in the waiting room and I'm admitting. So, okay, so let me start with my presentation. And as I said, you can cut me at any time and ask questions. I'm trying to now share my screen with you. So, oops. I guess you can see my screen, right? We have to go all the way back, sorry. Okay, so okay, so I think you can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So let me carry this here. All right. So towards a new era in medicine, AI and bioethics, this is the title of my presentation today. And my presentation is based on the book that I co-authored with Professor Arda, who we are discussing with Anna in the beginning of this session. She's a very dear colleague to me, and we co-authored this book. And if you just have a look at the contents, we start with the history of artificial intelligence, focus on definitions, and now we discuss the issue of personhood and artificial intelligence. When we were writing this book, personhood and artificial intelligence discussions were considered like, some kind of out of context, because we were mainly focusing on weak AI. But now, currently, this discussion is really valid for what we are having. And then we discussed the bioethical inquiries about artificial intelligence in healthcare and medical ethics. We're very much focusing on healthcare. And then we had some discussion points and concluded the book. So I mean, anything you would like to learn more, read more, you can find it in this book. And I'm just going to give you a brief glance of what we have discussed there. So the main question I'm going to discuss today is why do we need a new ethical framework for artificial intelligence? So the thought process goes like this. So first we start with the philosophy of technology. And then we have a very short look at technology ethics. And then we ask the question, do we need a new ethical framework for AI? Because you'll see that we already have a very comprehensive framework for technology ethics. So why do we need a new frame for discussing ethical issues about AI? Why can't we use the existing technology ethics framework? I'll try to explain that. And then we'll all discuss how can we define this new framework. And I would like to have your comments when we come at this stage. So we have a hanging question here. I think, sorry. Okay, so we have a hanging question here, as you see, should we produce any technological entity just because we can? This is a hanging question there, and I think it's very much related to what we discussed in terms of AI as it is today. Because we see AI as something that we have to protect ourselves from its risks. So do we really have to produce something that we're afraid of, that or that pose some existential risk to humanity? Or should we question the need to develop or not to develop? Or maybe a more basic question is, can we stop the development of AI at any time we want, or is it beyond our capabilities? So these are some, big questions that we're all trying to answer. And let's start with philosophy of technology. So any discussion on philosophy goes back to ancient Greek, as you know. So there are two concepts in ancient Greek. The first one is physis, and the second one is poiesis. Physis indicates the nature, or the one which does not need human interference to be. I mean, it's natural, it's already there. Okay. And there's another concept, it's poiesis, and it's used for artifacts or to describe the entities which require human interference for coming to existence. And when you look at ancient Greek philosophy, they see natural beings and artifacts to have the same ethical value. So there is not a hierarchy between physis and poiesis, but they are equal. And why are they equal? Because they are created to fulfill the telos of the nature. I mean, the reason of the nature or the aim of the nature. I'm not sure if you are very familiar with the term telos, but I can translate it in simple terms like the aim or the reason for something. And ancient Greeks say that physis and poiesis, they have the same ethical value because they are created to fulfill what nature is, to create the nature. So the third argument, which is coming after the first two ones, is that human beings do not have a hierarchical position compared to other natural beings or artifacts. And when we come to the Enlightenment period in Europe, this changes drastically. So humans are now positioned as agents who learn and understand the secrets of nature, and what they learn can provide them the power to conquer and rule the world. So you can see how the perspective changes. In ancient Greek, the perspective was placing human beings equivalent to natural beings. And when we come to the Enlightenment period, now human beings come to a hierarchical position as agents who can learn and understand and comprehend the secrets of the nature. And with this knowledge, they can conquer and rule the world. So this is a new setting for human beings. And at that time, world was imagined very much similar to a mechanistic clockwork, in which gears turn in harmony. And what humans had to do was to understand how these gears work. And if they can understand it, they can also change it to their to their benefit, or they can change it to something that they can have some utility for themselves. And the instrumentalist perspective on technology is very much related to the Enlightenment period thought. So the instrumentalist perspective states that every technological artifact is designed and produced to fulfill a function that emerges from a need. And technological artifacts have no inherent ethical value in themselves. Their ethical value depends on how they are used and what are the consequences of this use. So, think about a drone. If the drone is used for transferring some humanitarian aid, then from instrumentalist perspective, and the drone is good in terms of ethical value. But if it is used to, harm people, then it is bad in ethical value. So as you see, there is no inherent ethical value in themselves, but it all depends on how it is used. When I was first studying the technology ethics, and I was reading this instrumentalist perspective, I thought to myself, well, who thinks like that? And now when I'm seeing the discussions of ethics of AI, I can see that, currently people are referring to instrumentalist perspective very much, very frequently. So this is still in use, and you can see many people discussing the ethical implications, the consequences of its use, or the motivation behind its use. Determines the ethical value of a technology. So this is the first perspective in terms of technology. The second one is technological determinism. Technological determinism agrees with instrumentalism on the fact that technological artifacts are value-free by nature. And also determinists say that the technology has an autonomous nature. Although human beings are involved in the development and application of technology, humans lack the freedom to decide and determine in which direction the technology will evolve. And also determinist perspective says that technology shapes societal norms and values and main paradigms about the course of life. Technological determinism also sees technical progress as a linear track from simple to complex, and acknowledges a predetermined pattern of this track. So this is quite different from instrumentalism. And then we have technological substantivism. Technological substantivism agrees with determinism on the idea that technology has some kind of an autonomy regarding which direction it will evolve. However, it says that technology embodies an ethical value independent of its instrumental use and the consequences created by this use. On the contrary, technological substantivism says that this inherent ethical value of technology is the power and domination it provides to anyone who has access to this technology. So you can, if you're watching the YouTube videos or TEDx speeches or online meetings on ethics and AI, you can see that technological substantivism, determinism, and instrumentalist perspective, they are still very much alive, and they still constitute they are still the basic discussions, basic arguments that people put forward when they are discussing the ethics of AI. Okay, then there is the constructivist account of technology. This is very much like the Kuhn's perspective. If you're familiar with Kuhn's perspective, you can adapt that to the constructivist account. Constructivists say that technology does not proceed in a unilinear fashion. It has alternatives on the way of improvement, and various alternatives are present at several stages of technology development and design. And technology determines the changes in society and, technology determines the changes in society and argues for the opposites. Societal and technical factors affect the trends in technological development and design. So I can give a very brief example from the development of cell phones. I don't know how many people have used this phone. I think our young fellows have not seen this or probably have not used this, of course, but I have used this. This was my first cell phone. This is a Motorola phone. It was quite big and it also had an antenna here so that you can just take it off, pull it off, and then you start to talk with it. And the main idea was to make cell phones as small as possible and to make it very much, yes, please, and to make it very much focused on talking and texting. So the whole idea of cell phones development was to make it smaller, and the main focus was on talking and texting. But on the other hand, there was another focus that was developing very slowly. I don't know if you remember these devices, but this was an alternative. Not many people really chose to have one of these devices, but you could also, in addition to talking and texting, you could receive your emails or texts here. So this was a different paradigm. Can you see it? I mean, the main paradigm was making the cell phone smaller and lighter, but there was an alternative paradigm that was flourishing on the other side. And it was saying that, well, cell phones are not only for talking and texting, it can do some different things. And two paradigms, they race with each other, and we all, of course, know which paradigm succeeded. This is a very good example of how the constructivist account of technology sees technology development. It is not a unilinear, predetermined trace, as you see. On the contrary, it is some paradigms that are racing with each other, and one of them, gains the dominance, and then it is the main paradigm for technology development. Okay, so from the constructivist perspective, there is an idea of science and technology studies, and the main issue here, I mean, the main discussion is technology assessments. I think we still need technology assessment, but we don't have it very much now. But especially in terms of European Union, there were lots of health technology assessment institutions in place to assess legally, ethically, and also in terms of utility, risks and benefits before a technology was in wide use or in public use. And this is a paper of co-authored by me and a friend of mine, a professor, a professor of pharmacology. And we had a look at the ethical analysis in 7 reports from European Network for Health Technology Assessment. So if you're interested, you can have access to this paper and go through it. So the question is, does the present ethics of technology apply to AI? And my answer to this question is no. Of course, I would like to hear your ideas about this, but I can say that there are some fundamental differences in terms of AI and conventional technology. When I say conventional technology, I refer to any technological entity that doesn't have AI in it. So what are the features of conventional technology that are different from AI, and that they of course create the necessity for a new ethics of AI? The first one is that the conventional technology, their capabilities and functions are determined and controlled by human beings. For example, consider a car, a conventional car. we exactly know how that car works. And when there is a problem with the car, we can just go through the algorithms and we can detect where that problem is coming from. And we can also control and change or improve their capabilities. But in terms of AI, well, the first sentence is really problematic because the capabilities and functions are not always determined and controlled by human beings when we are talking about AI. Especially for strong AI, I can say that. I mean, in terms of weak AI, maybe we can control or determine some capabilities and functions. But when we are talking about strong AI, when I say strong AI, I mean artificial intelligence that can function in more than one domain, in several domains. Well, no, we can't control all of them, and we don't know how they work. The second one is the pathways of their operations and functions are known by human beings. Again, this can be relevant for weak AI. When I say weak AI, just think about the specialized systems like the ones we use in radiology or the ones we use in pathology. I mean, they see an image and they can just determine if it is malignant or benign. But when I say strong AI, just think about ChatGPT. It's much more easier. And for weak AI, yes, we can sometimes know the pathways of their operations and functions, but for strong AI, no, we don't. And the third one is they cannot self-evolve, self-learn, or self-generate. We know that AI can self-evolve, self-learn, and self-generate. So the fourth one is for conventional technology, they lack high-level functions which require intention, creativity, and strategy. And when I was first, giving these courses and discussing that AI may lack, high-level functions, which are usually attributed to human beings. It was okay, like 2 years ago, or I can also say 1 year ago, but now we cannot say that the high-level functions are only for human beings. We know that AI can have some high-level functions like developing strategies, being creative, and require some, some can do some actions that require intention. And the fifth one is that conventional technology need humans to create any consequences in the physical world. AI combined with robotic technology can create some physical consequences in real world, in physical world, without human interference. And the sixth one is humans produce the conventional technology, but in terms of AI, well, AI can produce AI. We know that now the chatbots can write some code to create new artificial intelligence entities. So what we know about technology until the existence of AI is classified as conventional technology, and they are fundamentally different from artificial intelligence. That is why the ethical frame that we develop for conventional technology does not apply to AI. That is why we need a new way of thinking for AI. So I don't know if you have seen this machine. This is a thinking machine, and it was, let me say, it was, the idea belonged to Charles Babbage. He is here. He just had the idea of a thinking machine, but he could never realize it. The person who helped Charles Babbage to realize this is Ada Lovelace. And Ada Lovelace is a really brilliant woman. And she said that machines can only do, or they do whatever they are programmed to do. So she said, well, machines can even write some songs or some poems if they are programmed to do so. So this was really a very, big step for those ages. But another person, Alan Turing, challenged her idea of thinking, and she said that well, we can see only a short distance ahead, but we can see plenty there needs to be done. And if you are not familiar with what Alan Turing has done, I can suggest you this movie. It's really a very, very cute movie, and um, it is very much dedicated to what Alan Turing has done for humanity. He's really a great guy. And two papers from him. I really love these papers. I read them frequently. And when I read them, I see that, Alan Turing could think about strong AI. He can imagine about strong AI. And when he was talking about artificial intelligence, of course, he wasn't using the term artificial intelligence. He was using the term computing machinery and intelligence, but he was attributing some human features to computers already in his time. So when was the term artificial intelligence first introduced to humanity? Well, it was at the Dartmouth conference in 1956. This was a summer conference that aimed to put all people who are working in AI together to discuss what's going on. And there was the first idea of what we know AI as today. Frank Rosenblatt came up with a novel approach, and he called it the neural networks. Um, well, actually, he was talking about the structure that we use in artificial intelligence then. But it was a brilliant idea, of course, even for those days, but the technology was not ready to support it. Why wasn't technology ready? Because there wasn't enough data. So as we have more data, as we have access to big data, as we have open science, and we have enough food, let me say, for AI to have the neural networks and to operate through neural networks. Okay, then in 1981, there was a turning point, and the Nobel Prize in Physiology was an inspiration for artificial intelligence and deep learning, of course. So since the first introduction of binary systems, it was the programmer's primary task to write the efficient codes for computers to operate, and deep learning looked like a getaway from the limitations of good old-fashioned AI to strong AI. And that is exactly what's happening right now. So if you have a look at this chart diagram, there is the artificial intelligence, and then machine learning, and then deep learning. And then deep learning is the essence of strong AI, and we can define it as a subcategory of machine learning suitable for self-training algorithms and feature extraction. And this, through deep learning, artificial intelligence can improve its original codes, and then there is the black box problem because we don't really know how the algorithm is following. So the answer to this question is no. So present ethics of technology does not apply to AI, and we need a new frame. So when we are looking for a new frame for ethics of AI, we have two tasks. The first one is to address current ethical problems which we are already experiencing due to the use of available AI technology in our everyday life. And the second task is to develop a new ethical frame for living with strong or above human level AI technology, as we call them, humanoids or super intelligence. So you can see that there are two sets of tasks we have to do. Of course, they have some common sets in between them, but there are some really distinct problems that each of these items present. So just a quick look at the common bioethical issues arising from current use of AI. The first one is the vanity of the human workforce, or handing the task over to expert systems. This is very much in use in medicine now, expert systems in pathology, in radiology, or in surgical, in surgery, let me say. Um, Sometimes AI is preferred to human workforce. So we have a preference test that we use quite frequently to decide if we want humans to be involved in the process, or we rather prefer AI to handle the issue. It is like asking the people if they would like to have a human that they can talk to, or an AI entity to do the job instead of human beings. Um, of course, there are some sectoral differences. Let's think about finance and medicine. So if it is finance, I mean, you are giving your money to an AI system that has access to everything that's happening in financial world, and do the arrangements in terms of the excessive amount of information that's flowing into AI. Um, of course, I mean, we can prefer some kind of an artificial intelligence to do all the computing, because human intelligence would not be enough to do it timely and to consider everything that's going on in financial. But when we are talking about medicine, well, the story is totally different. So preference test, when you apply it in different sectors, you can get different answers in terms of having human interference or using AI. The second common issue arising from current use of AI is annihilation of real interpersonal interaction. And the third one, I'm not going to get into details of this because we are all experiencing, and if there are any questions, we can always discuss on them deeper. And the question of human intelligence and survival ability, and abolishing privacy and confidentiality. These are the four main issues that we are facing currently. And in terms of strong artificial intelligence, as I said, strong artificial intelligence, think about the chatbots, the large language models, or human level or above human level intelligence. The first problem is the power and responsibility of acting. So there will be, of course, some consequences in real life, and who is going to be the responsible agents when a bad consequence happens. And there are, of course, issues about equity, fairness, and equality. Just think about what I said about technological substantivism. They were saying that technology provides some kind of a power and dominance of people who have access to that technology over the ones who don't have that access. So these issues of equity, fairness, and equality are very much linked to that kind of domination and power. And the third one is changing human nature irreversibly. And this is very much relevant when we are talking about some devices that we implement in human body. And we are, of course, developing and using and doing research on those kinds of devices now. But some of those devices, especially the ones that we use in neurosciences, have the potential to change human nature irreversibly. So are we ready for that, or should we do it? This is a huge ethical question. So let me just skip these, and okay. So let's have a very short look at what we have in terms of regulating AI until now. The first the first frame that we see in terms of regulation of AI comes from Asimov. He has three laws on robotics. The first one is a robot may not inquire a human being, or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. So this is for avoiding harm to human beings. And the second one is obedience of robots. Please read robot as artificial intelligence, because in those times, the term was robot, but now we use AI. So let's say an AI must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third one is an AI entity must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or the second law. So these are the first three laws. But then Nismo realized that there is a bigger problem than just posing risk to one human being, but there can be an existential risk posed by thinking machines, let me say, or artificial intelligence. And he called it the zeroth law. And he said a robot may not injure humanity or through inaction allow humanity to come to harm. So please just notice that the term here is humanity, and it was just a human being in the first three laws. But then when he established the zeroth law, he is talking about the whole humanity. And this is the current discussion today, the existential risk that AI poses to whole humanity. And I think Asimov was quite, aware of what can be the major risk, so that he established a zero. And then we have Joseph Weizenbaum. He's a really very interesting guy. He's an engineer, and he developed the expert system on psychoanalysis, and it was called ELISA. And the expert system that he developed was so powerful and so successful that patients could not, distinguish the artificial intelligence from human doctors. So when he established that system, he said, "Well, I have to have a break." And he took 2 years off, and he started working on the ethics of AI. And he wrote a book called Computer Power and Human Reason. This is a really interesting book written by an engineer in the first stages of development of AI, and he was really concerned about the ethical problems. And he basically said computer technology should be avoided in areas regardless of the expected benefits. In two situations. The first one is computer technology should not be used if using it would lead irreversible changes and the side effects of these changes are unforeseeable. And this is what we are currently experiencing with large language models that are open to public access, like the ChatGPT and other LLMs. We know that they can lead to irreversible changes, not only physical changes, but also societal changes with huge consequences, huge risks, and we cannot foresee them. So he said it like in 1960s, and now we are experiencing exactly what he warned us against. And the second one is that computers should not substitute in place of humans in areas which require interpersonal respect, understanding, and love. And when I first read this sentence, I just said, well, medicine. He's talking about medicine or healthcare services. And we know that healthcare services is the second sector that artificial intelligence is very much active. So there are some very, recent ethics declarations for responsible development of artificial intelligence. The first one is Montreal Declaration. It was in 2018. And now we have European Commission, the ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI, 2019. And of course, we had a critical point to these declarations, and this is a paper I co-authored with two colleagues for demonstrating our critical perspective on guidelines for responsible and trustworthy artificial intelligence. So what is the main problem with these declarations or guidelines for ethical artificial intelligence? The first one is the interlocutor. Who is the interlocutor? And the second one is that real life comes with ethical dilemmas. Let me explain these a little bit further. The first issue is, Montreal Declaration says that any person, any organization, any company that wishes to take part in the responsible development of artificial intelligence, whether it is to contribute scientifically or technologically or to develop social projects, elaborate rules that apply to it, to be able to contest bad or unwise approaches, or to be able to alert public opinion when necessary. So the Montreal Declaration says that each of these agents are responsible. So, I mean, a more a broader a broader term for this would be no one, because if we say that everybody is responsible, well, nobody is really responsible, because everyone thinks that the other one will take care of what's going on with in terms of risks. So let me just talk about the tracking silhouette and path of persons passing by a camera. This is public screening. There was lots of discussions about public screening. And this is one of the young genius guys who developed this technology. And I was watching this interview with him, and he was really very enthusiastic about explaining how the idea came up, how they developed the algorithm, how it is, how many benefits it has, and how it can be used widely, and so on and so forth. And at one point, the interviewer asked, yeah, but have you ever thought about the ethical issues that is kind of, using public screening for everybody? Do you think that there will be any privacy, confidentiality issues, or do you have any ethical concerns? Um, I could see that this guy is a brilliant, very intelligent guy, but he was clueless. He could not answer that question because his whole motive was to produce this technology for everyone and just launching it for public use. Um, that he never considered about the ethical problems that it may pose. So that is a very good example of what I am talking about. The guidelines, the declarations, the international documents, of course we should have them, but the people who are developing the technology or the people who are using the technology, are they aware of those guidelines? And do those guidelines have any kind of, regulative power on those people? Well, if we just have a look at what has been going on with the large language models, that we say, frankly, ChatGPT, we can say that, well, they have no regulative power on them. I don't know if you have seen any speeches of Geoffrey Hinton, who has recently resigned from his artificial intelligence, let me say, studies, research, or work. And he said that he has been working on artificial intelligence for, like 50 years for his entire professional life. And for the last months, he was very concerned about the ethical and legal issues that the new way of using artificial intelligence in large language models. But maybe it's too late, or maybe it's just the time to discuss these issues with the people, who are developing the technology, not only academicians, not only the people who are using it, but with the people who are developing, who should be taking some responsibility in it. And the second problem is that real life comes with ethical dilemmas. We can all, determine which action to take if there is only one option. I mean, lying is bad. Causing harm to people is bad. But if we have to choose between two bad things, that's an ethical dilemma, then this is real life. And the guidelines or the codes, or moral codes, they are sometimes not enough. frequently not enough in face of ethical dilemmas. Okay, so just a few words on the new ethical frame that we should develop for artificial intelligence. The first question here is should we consider ethical issues of artificial intelligence in the ethical realm of the domain they operate in? My answer to this question is yes. Because some of the domains that artificial intelligence is being frequently used in, they have very concrete ethical frames, like in medical ethics, and they are really different when we talk about different domains. What I'm trying to say is that medical ethics or clinical ethics or research ethics have some concrete principles, values, norms that really don't apply to artificial intelligence used in finance or artificial use in defense sector. So there should be some kind of a sectoral approach in terms of developing a new bioethical frame for artificial intelligence. However, the problem is that most sectors, most domains don't have a very well established bioethical frame. In terms of medicine, in terms of healthcare services, we have, but we cannot say that in all domains we have that kind of an ethical frame. So that is one of the problems that we have. Yes, we should address the ethical issues in the realm of the ethical sphere of the sector. However, we don't have it most of the time. So another problem is that sometimes AI entity that operates in a specific domain may raise some ethical issues that become problem because of the AI entity. AI technology possesses some fundamental differences than conventional technology, as I explained, and we may face ethical issues emerging from this different nature of AI technology. And ethical issues which were considered neither in ethics nor specific domains in ethics of technology can emerge because of AI use. And we should be able to, address them in our new, by our new ethical framework. So a frequently asked question is that, would inserting algorithms for ethical decision making in AI entities be a solution? There's a very basic example here, like inserting algorithms for ethical reasoning, like do X if it does not harm to human beings. Of course, these algorithms would create a consistent framework for the AI entity that will limit destructive or harmful actions. But also these algorithms can be so deeply embedded into the essence of AI entities original program that it would not be possible to change or erase them, even if AI entity can modify itself. So this is defining some kind of an ideal that we can put the algorithm in the AI system so deeply that it always stays there, even if AI can improve itself by deep learning. But I don't think that this really works in terms of healthcare services, because we have a term which is called the reasonable harm, which really needs some kind of deep thinking, let me say, because let me explain this to you by an example, with an example of a robot nurse. If you have ever drawn blood from a vein, you can recall that it is always possible to produce harm to the person, give some harm to the person. So how much harm is it okay when we are drawing blood from a vein? This is called reasonable harm. And in medicine, in terms of healthcare services, we are always negotiating between two harms, between two risks, and we are always balancing the risks and harms. The term reasonable harm requires some kind of a comprehension of the setting between the patient, physician, and the situations which are unique to the patient. And this requires some understanding about human life, human intuitions, and human expectations from medical service. So it's not always easy to write down an algorithm that would avoid harm and also consider reasonable harm. Okay, so I can say that the frequent answer to what I have been talking about, the problems, is that having some kind of a human oversight and to determine if the harm that can be posed by use of AI is reasonable or not. I mean, human can decide that, but also it's not always possible, and it is sometimes contradictory to the aim of using AI in healthcare or some special domains, because why are we inviting AI to some healthcare services? Because we think that it would be more efficient to use AI, and also it could also avoid some risks or some mistakes. And if you're putting human oversight on the top of every decision that AI is going to make, and we are of course sacrificing that benefit that we were hoping in the first place. So this is my presentation. I'm expecting your questions or comments, and if you would like to read more about this, I can just suggest you some reading materials. I've also shown you some papers during my presentation. You can also just take a look at them as well. So, okay, any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, please, Katrina.
I was wondering, I've seen a lot of different, talks about AI, and the goal seems to be a push towards consciousness and sentience. So if that is the goal, they would be pretty much equal to humans, if not above humans. Would they and have the same rights as humans and be able to monitor themselves better than humans? Is there any room in your hierarchy to, or in the way you're creating this new form of ethics? Is that included when, if this artificial intelligence becomes as humans? How do you create an ethical framework for that when if the AI can do everything as good as humans, including monitoring itself?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know the answer to this question, but we can just try to think together. When the large language models were not presented public, when they were not open to public use, like a year ago, the discussions around human level or above human level was very clustered around consciousness and sentience. So it was like, can AI ever be conscious like human beings? Can AI have some feelings, some intuition? And the answer to that would be probably most of the time no. And people people were trying to find some examples or some reasons why AI can never be like human beings. And the discussions were, going like that. But when we had LLMs in place, we realized that we don't need AI to have consciousness or some kind of sentience to act like humans, or to operate like humans, or to create some consequences like humans. They don't really need it, because they can imitate. In fact, Alan Turing just discussed this in his 2 original papers that I showed you, and with the imitation game that he, just sketched in those papers. Artificial intelligence, or LLMs, let me say, as the strongest AI that we have today, they don't need to be conscious like human. They can imitate, they can learn, they can understand, and they can imitate. So they can act like human beings. So we don't really have to discuss if AI can be conscious like human beings. It's not relevant anymore. Because it can create consequences by changing the comprehension of reality in human beings. It presents some kind of a reality to us that we don't usually question, because it's artificial intelligence and it has access to big data, and it of course knows better than us. So whatever it presents us become the reality for us. And this is a huge issue about bias and twisting of reality, which we didn't really discuss or think about like 1 or 2 years ago, but now we are facing it. We have examples of it. And that is why I was really very concerned about personhood issues, consciousness, and sentience. And now I see them a little bit off the scene, and instead I am very much concerned about the ability of LLMs in terms of creating a twisted reality for human beings, and have some impact on social, in social life, in political life, in democracies, in medicine, in research, since we don't question anymore what is presented to us by LLMs. I think this requires a little bit more thinking on it. And the question that you asked me, Katrina, I think we should all think about it and think together, discuss together, because it is a tough question. And I don't think anybody has a concrete answer to that. But this doesn't mean that we should not think about it.
Yeah, I just wondered. Thank you.
Thank you. Abdulrahman Al-Harbi.
So first, thank you for this great presentation. So my question will be, do you think that AI, especially ChatGPT, have a bad influence on the learning ability of humans, or is it just a new phase learning ability, such as moving from verbal learning to written learning? So do you think it's a new phase, or will it have a bad effect on learning ability in humans?
Yeah, my answer to that question is yes. It is a whole new paradigm that we can have with LLMs in terms of training, education, learning, and producing knowledge. And I also think that it is also going to change the way we comprehend knowledge, the way we have access to knowledge, and the way we express our knowledge, scientific literature as well. But I think all of you here, all the participants here, have you all used ChatGPT? Okay, so what is your answer to this question? I wonder, how in what terms did you use? Let me ask you, Abdurrahman, how do you use ChatGPT? For what reasons?
Actually, I didn't use it yet.
Huh?
I'm afraid of that to affect my.
You didn't use it yet? You didn't use it? Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So this question is not for you, but this is for anyone who used ChatGPT. For what reasons did you use it, and how did you feel when you use it? I see some hands. Is it answered for my question? Let me ask Faiza. Faiza, did you use ChatGPT?
Yeah, I used ChatGPT last semester. I had a very difficult class, and somewhere on TikTok, I saw that you can use ChatGPT to help you study for like the stuff. And what I would do is that every time I would like blurb out, like regurgitate all the information that I read through, because it's not making sense in my head. I like read through, I took notes, but it's really not making sense. So I would take my notes from my Google Docs and copy paste them over there, and I'd tell ChatGPT, hey, explain this to me as if I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay.
It helped me. I would understand. It would be like, oh, think that this is like a town. Like it would be like very storyteller. Like it's fun.
Okay, that's good. So it helped you to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, a topic that you find hard to learn. That's good. So we don't see any risks here. And any other type of use that may pose some ethical risks? Angeli?
I mainly used it in a pretty simplistic sense of that in that when it first was developed, I just kind of went on there to mess around and see what it was like. But I mainly use it for things that are kind of busy work. So if I have to make a bibliography for school, I will sometimes make Chat GPT do it for me. Just to
Okay.
save time, yeah.
Okay, good. And is ChatGPT successful in doing that for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Although you do have to add some specifications. So if you
Uh-huh.
don't specify that you want it in alphabetical order, it actually doesn't do it that way. And then you
Okay.
also need to make sure you put in like what kind of format you want it in, so like MLA9 or anything like that.
Good. So this looks like a benefit also, and we don't see any risks here. So Katrina?
Yeah, so I used it whenever I couldn't find what I needed to find on Google. I would ask Chat GPT, and usually I get a lot more information.
Mm-hmm. And does it provide accurate references?
Yes, more than enough.
More than enough. That's good. So it's improving itself, because when I first started using it, asking some questions and then asking for references, some of the references were made up. And I say that, these are not really relevant, and discussing ChatGPT with the accuracy of the knowledge that it's providing to me, it was really funny. But I think it's improving really, really very fast. So thank you. And we have Godwill Einhard Sanga.
Yes, thank you, Professor, for a nice presentation. Now, I'm asking myself, do you have the organs that oversees these AIs currently produced? Because you may find that the AIs produced, they sometimes violate the ethical to the personal perspective. For instance, they make the AIs, for instance, on those sexual partners. What happens if that AI violates the ethical issues to the owner? Who gonna be responsible? Do we have such organs that oversee such things? I'm trying to think globally. I don't know if we have such things. Maybe you can share with others if there are some organs that oversee such issues. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. So I can see that we have been using ChatGPT for making things easier for us that we could already do in other programs, like language check, or like providing information that is put together instead of a scattered pattern that we have in Google. But I would like you all to think, what could be the risks of using LLMs in a broader sense? You can be, I know that there are some students here, there are some PhD candidates. Just think about your own environment, working environment or research environment, and just think about what kind of moral issues or ethical problems that LLMs can, pose. Do you see any risks? Faisa?
I'm not too familiar about how the data goes in,
Okay.
or like how it is stored when you use AI and you feed it with data. if people are using sensitive information, how, like, possibly there could be, and it is being used, like, you know, possibly, what if it's sold, like the data, what if it's sold, or what if this data is rather like used to like surveil, like for surveillance or something, like maybe I see some issues with that, possibly.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. You know, data is the main food, let me say, for AI and for LLMs. So we need to have the big data, and that big data has to be updated. So if it is real-time data, it is better. But data is very much connected to human beings. So how do we acquire that data? How we store that data? How we have access to that data? How we share it? And how we reproduce it or how we reuse it. They all have some ethical, they all pose some ethical issues that we have to think about. And you can think about it in the realm of your own work. You can be from social sciences, you can be from humanities or from medicine, healthcare services. So data or the ethical issues related with LLMs, AI, and open science and data may be changing in terms of your area of work, but you should think about them and try to see the main issues there. So we have Warat. Yes, Warat.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Well, I would see some sort of plagiarism is at risk here. We're at risk in plagiarizing because it's not our work. And as an educator, I would worry about the critical thinking skills
Great.
of
Yes.
students and humanity at large, because it's not we're not training that, we're not using that anymore. Something else is doing it for us. There's a lot of data, yes, but the right choice of data is not being done by us. So the choice of data, the way you connect data, and the interpretation of data is out of our hands when it is done by artificial intelligence. And this can lead to very serious consequences.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think what you said is really very important. The ability of critical thinking, and also discussing the bias regarding the data that we are using for critical thinking. And also, the dominance of AI in this field. If you know that if we think that it's doing it better than us, and do we really still force us for questioning if the data is biased, or if the way we criticize things really have some grounds in real life or not? So what you said is really very important. Diana? Diana, can you hear us?
Hi.
Yeah,
yes.
maybe you were muted. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to build upon what my colleagues have been saying, that I mean, yes, there's a lot of data, but an issue is the credibility and of this data. I'm like Faiza said, I'm not sure how AI, I know it's self-learning, it gathers, it builds upon its all the data that it's gathering, it accumulates. But I mean, if we don't know how to, if we can't control it, how do we know that this data being accumulated over time is the right data? I mean, we go to it and we ask a question and it gives us an answer, like that said, the interpretation. But how do we know that the source of this data is right? I mean, just an example off the top of my head. It might not be correct, but just to illustrate. I mean, thinking about like COVID and the vaccines, and we saw how on social media there was a lot of misinformation that was being And some of this misinformation was coming from sources that some people deemed credible. So if the AI is gathering this, how is it going to differentiate and assess which one it should believe or which one it should take into account? So yeah, I think this is one of the concerns.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. In fact, what I was talking about when I said that AI has now the power to, sketch a new reality. Sketch a reality for us, and we don't have any choice but believe in that. I was just talking about this one. So what Dinah has said very clearly is very important. How do we know that the product that LLM is providing us is grounding on reality, real data, or accurate data? How do we know it? How can we check it? Or if it is not, how can we have access to real data or the realities? Do we have any means to access, or can we just check if it is correct or not? So this is a huge problem that we have, and probably we don't have the answer to that yet, but this is a pending question as well. So we have Goodwill Einhardt, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I was trying to think on the other side, because when you talk to the artificial intelligence, you feed data to them, and when you feed that to them, how about the security of those data? That is a system, that is a computerized system. If you give out your personal information to the IAs, who gonna have the control on that? How are they going to be used somewhere else? So you can find that the issue of security is now a little bit controversial, personal security. And the other way, you may find that different cultures, the artificial intelligence has been fed data from a certain culture, from people of a certain culture, of a certain community. Now, when they go to other communities whereby the culture differs, can you find that this artificial intelligence becomes viral to those cultures?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's my question.
Thank you. I really couldn't catch everything you said, but as far as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the cultural sensitivities and how AI can be cultural sensitive in terms of personal data. And that is a real problem for me, because, the cultural sensitivity in terms of research and data is a huge issue, and also it is not only important for moral values, but also important for the integrity of data as well. Because when we are talking about cultural conception, there's somebody waiting. Cultural comprehension of some values and concepts different in different societies. So when we are interpreting data that is coming from diverse communities, we have to be aware, or the AI has to be aware, that it has some different connotations in those societies, which we don't have that kind of sensitivity right now, and it changed all the interpretation. It may change all the interpretation of data and presentation of a reality in a twisted form that it is existing in those societies. And Faiza, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, but when Wadat said that she's an educator and she's worried about, the loss of plagiarism and also loss of critical skills, I remember how this one Texas professor failed a large chunk of his class because he input their work into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT just responded that it did their work when they're like, no, we didn't. And then when they input a bunch of his own work into ChatGPT was like, I did it too. And plagiarism has become a huge issue with it. And also, if you go into Goodreads, a platform where a lot of books are there. A
Uh-huh.
lot of the new books, they're completely written by AI from the cover to the content, and it's just really fascinating, but a little scary to see how people are utilizing it.
Yeah. And Faiza, thank you for using the words fascinating and scary in the same sentence, because I think that that's the way we all feel when we talk about LLMs and artificial intelligence in the current sense. And what else, please?
Actually, yes, I agree that plagiarism has become a worldwide issue with everyone. But I would like to go beyond that. AI has the ability to develop and become even more intelligent. And where is the ceiling? There is no ceiling for AI, actually. I can fearfully envisage a world where AI surpasses human beings and takes control. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And what you said takes us to the first question that was raised in this discussion, that how this new bioethical frame applies when we have strong or above human level AI, and would we still have the capability to impose some kind of a bioethical frame for some kind of an entity that is more intelligent than us, or should we talk about this or discuss this frame with that new entity? I think this question was from Katrina. It was one of the initial questions. So we had a full circle and we came back to the first question. In our book, in the book that I showed you in my presentation that I co-authored, we discussed this issue as well. And when we were just, discussing this, I was feeling like, this is something like science fiction for now. I don't know if it's going to happen. And the book was published in 2019, and 2 or 3 years ago, it became some kind of a reality. So I always smile when I hear people saying, well, ChatGPT or, AI can't do this, can't do this like human beings do. I always put the word yet at the end of those sentences, because yes, maybe it cannot do it currently, but it will do it. We know that it's going exponentially. And can you hear that I'm using the technological deterministic perspective now when I'm talking? I'm saying that it is going autonomous, although we have some of course we have some we are involved in that process as human beings, but we are talking about artificial intelligence as an autonomous entity that is going to evolve, either we want it or not. So I really would like you to be aware of the patterns that we use when we are discussing about ethics of AI. We very much use instrumentalist perspective. We very much use the deterministic perspective and the substantivist perspective. So if we are aware of our perspectives, and it is easier to develop some counter arguments to what we are saying or what we are proposing. So I think we're done. Oh, we have Sisi, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Hi, Shrishti.
Hi,
Yes.
Shishi. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, please go
It's
ahead.
okay. I just wanted to add that maybe like something to think about. Maybe it's not all bad because towards the end of your presentation, like you said, use of it in healthcare, right? So there are places where there's like dearth of people and there's a lack of frontline workers and healthcare workers, and they are really struggling to make ends meet. And especially during a time like pandemic, they had a lot of pressure on them. And even without that, since there is a lack of doctors and workers, they have to work overtime and things like that. So maybe there
Mm-hmm.
could be some, if used efficiently, if technology and AI is used efficiently, maybe it could help them, and it could help the people as well, because it would be more approachable, there would be more facilities. So if used efficiently, it could be helpful as well. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it doesn't have to be all bad, because it could help and be a helping hand too. But then
Yeah.
again, there's the problem, where do you draw the line, and how do you distinguish when it is too much and when it's fine? So that's always going to be there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying that. You know, if you didn't say that, probably this discussion would not be complete. Because we should be, I mean, we should position ourselves in a way that we could find some kind of optimization between the benefits, the utility, and the risks of AI. And when we're talking about ethics of AI, in fact, we are talking about building some kind of an artificial intelligence that produces the best utility or benefit for humanity while avoiding the risks as much as we can. So we are not enemies of technology. We are not enemies of AI, but we are having some kind of a critical, approach to AI, because it is not all good. And when we are producing the good, we may be turning a blind eye to some essential things to humanity, to morality, to ethical values, principles, or norms. So yeah, we are building this for humanity, for utility and benefit, but we should be in such a position to do it ethically. You know, we can see some examples of that in clinical research, what was going on with research in human subjects. We all know that from history. We should be wise enough not to duplicate those mistakes, and this time do it right from the beginning, instead of, looking back and seeing that there are some tragedies going on. Francis, please.
Yeah, Dr. Anna, I've been looking forward to this for like weeks, because I send Professor Alif like tons of emails. I mean, tons of them, and she doesn't answer me.
I don't
I
answer
ask
you. I
her.
always answer you.
I ask her, can I please talk to you? Can I get some advice? She has no time for me. No time. So I thought, good, I can try to corner her here. Now I can just ask you a question, because I always want to ask Professor Alif a question. But what I'm thinking is, artificial intelligence is really interesting for bioethics, because to me, it poses the question to us, what does it mean to be human?
Yes.
And it poses the
Great.
question,
Yes.
what is human dignity? Which to me seems fundamental in bioethics.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes us different? What makes me different from my beautiful dog there? Now, my children will tell me the dog is much more important, and I can appreciate that. Or what makes us different from a mouse, or from an ant, or from a tree, or anything else that has life?
Mm-hmm.
So what separates us? And we've always, for much of what we've thought of ourselves is throughout history is, well, we have reason. We're intelligent. We're more intelligent than the animals. So we actually have to care for the animals, because we're in a way above them. We're better than them. But what happens when now we come into a world where we have not only machines in the future,
Mm-hmm.
or presently, that are more intelligent than us, but life itself, organs,
Mm-hmm.
organoids, or whatever, that are
Mm-hmm.
much more intelligent, far more intelligent than us? Who are we then? And in that context, how do we relate not only to these more intelligent beings, but how do we relate to one another?
Is this all, Francis? Are you only going to ask questions?
Oh, yeah. Professor Alif, I've come here to ask you a question, and I expect an answer. You owe me an answer. I want an answer from you.
Well, it's not fair. to come and ask the hardest question and just leave. And I'll also answer your emails. So just to clarify that. Well, that's a really hard question. It's not fair to ask it to me, but well, I don't know how I can answer it, but I think that's a question that we all have to ask ourselves, because it makes everything so I mean, if we can't answer that, then everything loses its meaning. Why are we having technology? The first answer to that, in ancient Greek was for balance in nature, or for the telos of the universe. And for Enlightenment period, it was for making things easier for humanity, all emerged from a need. But if we are talking about developing something, some entity that can do every task better than human beings, more accurately, more easily, more faster, then the concept of need also loses its meaning. So I think at that point we need to redefine everything. And my fundamental question is that, do we really need to develop something like that? I can't find the answer to the question, why is humanity creating things or doing things that it has to protect itself from? Like, we have to protect ourselves from environment, climate change, and risks. Then why did we do it in the first place? Okay, why did we create that risk? Why did we create the climate crisis? We did it. And now we're trying to protect ourselves from AI. If you listen to some of the interviews with Geoffrey Hinton or with the CEO of OpenAI, so you can see that they are really not. They have not really been very much concerned with these fundamental questions, but they were very much involved with the benefit that they can have from developing AI or being the first one to launch that technology. But what about these fundamental questions that Francis asked, or the one that I asked and said that this is all pending there? So I think we should be wise enough as human beings to try to reflect on these questions. Maybe we don't have all the answers. What Francis has asked me, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm very much willing to reflect on that. With clever people, with intelligent people like you. I think we all need to come together from different cultures, from different backgrounds, and discuss these before we have a bigger and unforeseeable question in front of us. So Maimuna, do I pronounce it right?
It's Maimuna. Yeah, you were right.
Okay.
I did have a comment to make. I think that AI really I would say kind of questions the integrity of people, just because it is created with the intention that it's supposed to make choices easier to make, because there's not that human emotion biases. But if people are using it in the wrong way to kind of like cheat the system, that's definitely on their own, like moral, it's really testing their own morality. Whereas I think that AI is just something that will continue on advancing, and it's at the end of the day, it's like really up to us to kind of like use it in the right way, especially with ChatGPT. I think that it is intended to help people kind of like get answers faster. But if you're kind of like using it to answer your homework prompts, that's kind of like digging a grave for yourself, in a sense that like you're losing your own creative piece, rather than it really like hurting anyone else, right? But yeah.
Yeah. So a question. Which perspective is Maimuna reflecting to us? It's the instrumentalist perspective, right? We see AI, I mean, the way, if you follow what Maimuna has said, which she really said very well, is that it depends on how we use it, and we should be aware of the consequences for us, if it is diminishing our creativity, or if it is, doing something, on bias or something, and we should be aware of that, and we should, follow or think on the consequences. So this is one of the things that was said in the Bill of Rights in the United States. It depends on the user, or it depends on the producer. So what was really emphasized in the Bill of Rights is that now the manufacturers or the people who create AI has to take responsibility, has to take full responsibility for the consequences. But the producers say that, well, we don't know all the consequences because it depends on the intentions of the user. So then it goes to the user and say that, well, it's up to you if you use it for good reasons and if you use it mindfully, and then it produces utility or benefit. Otherwise, it can be a whole disaster. So can you see the swing between the perspectives, how we frame the question, and we go back and forth between different perspectives to find answers, but they don't really answer the question. They try to help us with this perspective, but they don't really answer the question, because the fundamental question is really what Francis said about human dignity and about should we produce anything that we really that we can produce, because it's the human ego. We want to do our best, and if it is our best to produce the highest intelligence, artificial intelligence, should we really do it? So that is the space for ethics. I mean, we have to place it there. It's not easy. It's not black and white. We don't really know the answers, but I believe we need to discuss. And I would like to thank Anna very much for providing this platform for discussion, and all the people who spared their time, like it is 1.5 hours now, to listen to me and to think together about these questions. Maybe we didn't find some answers, but we asked some good questions, and maybe we can have some clues in our everyday life or in our professional lives that can give us some highlights about these questions and how they have impact in our professional or personal lives. So I think this is the end of this session. I'd like to thank you all, especially to Anna and Francis, and for everybody who participated this discussion. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I also learned from you. It's great to hear different voices from brilliant people like you. And thank you for having me.